Hello everyone, Corey Moore here again. To start off, I'd like to introduce my audience members. Thank you. So, picture this. Your life is going great. You're now a college graduate and almost instantaneously you get a great paying job that you love. You see a nice house that you'd like to own, so you buy it. This house has a very nicely landscaped yard as well as lush green grass. You now have a commute to work and you need a reliable vehicle to get you there. You decide to buy a new car that you've had your eye on. Due to the drought, Washington State has been forced to implement water restrictions just like California. Now that lush green grass has withered and died and is brown and lifeless, your shiny new car has now lost its luster and it is a bug cemetery. We need a certain amount of greenhouse gases in order to keep our planet warm. I have a chart that I've illustrated. So, what happens when we receive energy from the sun? This energy travels down to the earth, warming up the earth's surface, and then is reflected back up into the atmosphere. But due to increased levels of greenhouse gases, the adequate amount of heat that needs to escape can escape and is therefore reflected back down to the surface, further heating up the earth's surface, and it gets reflected back up again. So you see, it's a continuous pattern, and the result is global warming. So what does global warming do? Well, it obviously heats up the earth, and the earth continues to heat up because of global warming, but it also causes the polar ice caps to melt, resulting in the world ocean sea level to rise by 3.2 millimeters per year. It is also responsible for more frequent and severe weather systems, as well as more frequent and longer droughts. It's responsible for lower snowfall levels in the mountains, as well as lower melt times, sooner melt times, and with these sooner melt times, it makes it so when we need to access the water out of the rivers, it isn't there. The scientists say that we have not yet reached the critical turning point where climate change is irreversible, but we need to reduce our carbon footprint now. Simple ways that we can do this are recycling and to not buy bottled water such as these. Instead, we should use a reusable water bottle like this. It requires an enormous amount of energy that we produce by fracking for natural gas in order to get the fuel to make these water bottles. And if we produce just 1 ton of plastic, that emits 3 tons of CO2 into our atmosphere. For an example, in 2006, our U.S. factories to just provide water bottles for the United States, we emitted 2.5 million tons of CO2 into the atmosphere. So I suggest that things that we can do are conserving energy at home. You can recycle, you can do a simple thing and swap out your old light bulbs like this for a new energy efficient bulb. This will help out a lot. You can also, you need to turn off your heat sources or AC when you're not home. The reason for this is because not all power plants are clean burning, and we still have a number of coal-fired power plants in the United States. I suggest you to use public transit, carpool, vanpool, or ride a bike. The reason for this is because the average car in America produces 6 tons of CO2 annually. And every gallon of gas burned produces 20 pounds of CO2. You can also plant a tree. Trees and plants, they clean the air by taking in the CO2 and giving off oxygen as a byproduct. Anything that we can do to address climate change and decrease our carbon footprint is a must. If we act now and significantly reduce our carbon footprint, you can expect to experience climate change with the weather patterns that we currently see and weather systems of that nature. If we do nothing, we can experience to see an overall warming of the world, as well as severe and more frequent droughts. These droughts, they affect farmers' ability to be able to produce food for us, as well as the rising oceans, and the oceans also get more acidic as they absorb the CO2. The loss and change of ecosystems, and more destructive and frequent hurricanes. I urge you to take just 5 minutes and log on to epa.gov. There you will be able to see 25 easy ways that you can reduce your carbon footprint at home. These can be just as easy as changing a light bulb. You can get involved in other ways by volunteering at an Adopt the Highway program. You can do this by logging on to wsdot.wa.gov and volunteer to pick up litter. You can plant a tree. You can buy that brand new Prius that you may not want but you need, and get a recycling bin from the city and use it. Change a light bulb. Something to keep in mind that if we were to completely eliminate all our CO2 production in the United States as of now, it would take our planet 1,000 years to reverse the climate change effects to pre-industrial era. Climate change is not a myth. It is a real and catastrophic problem. We must do what we can while we can to address this issue. If we do not do this, our children might be the last generation to live on a sustainable planet. Thank you. My audience members.